Podcast starts now. What is up, everyone around the world? And good morning, even.
And the power dynamics have already been set because right before we started recording, I don't even know if our guests heard this, Sam said we were about to start recording and he goes, okay, we're ready. We're not going to tap the table. Let's go. Because I tapped the table last time and you used the kindergarten teacher we to refer to me in a sort of condescending way.
No. It was
rather
inclusive.
Than say it was not inclusive. I've never been spoken to in that tone in my life.
Oh, so you didn't even go to kindergarten?
Oh, no, I actually skipped it. I took the SATs early when I was 6 and skipped kindergarten.
It's just, I know this episode, because we're banking episodes, will come out way, way, way after the fact.
Sure.
But people have been furious about the tapping on the table.
Who has been furious about it?
I mean, many of our top tier listeners.
Oh, the VIPs?
The VIPs are in the VIP section about to riot because of the tapping on the table.
You keep saying this, I have not seen it.
Well, I wish I were as ignorant as you. I wish I could be blissful in this way.
Listen, I don't really like to interact with our audience. I like to think of myself as sort of like Liza, and then they're blurry in the crowd. I don't respect them as people.
Sure.
I think they are of a lower social status
of course
than I am, even though sort of on paper, they probably make more money than me.
Well, you didn't mention class, just social status.
No, social status. And actually, we need to bring back social status detached from class. Because in this day and age, I was about to tap the table. In this day and age, the billionaire class is dictating the rules of culture when we have, tech CEOs greenlighting television series. Anyone can pay. It's a pay-to-play world, mama. And I think we need to go back to poor people having influence.
Of course.
Socially.
And I think we are pushing that agenda forward.
Exactly, and that's why I am writing Rent, the musical.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
So we're recording in the morning.
Okay, and now I have to say that, I deserved your condescension because I did that to you last night.
And you were actually doing that to me hard
I was doing it to you hard last night because I was like, I'm so excited for our guest tomorrow morning. It's going to be a great episode. And you were like, yeah, but it's so early. And my instinct was I was like, Sam, it's 10 a.m. It is a normal time to do something. Please put on your big boy panties and get out of bed and get to Midtown ASAP.
I found that to be so toxic.
And I knew you did, but then we never addressed it.
Because it was like, okay, so our whole thing is complaining, and then suddenly you're like, I don't want to complain anymore. Suddenly you're like, actually, I'm a good guy. And I was like, This is crazy. We have built a years-long relationship on sort of complaining about the little things.
Well, I do think when you complain about something, it's actually so rare that we have differences that it's like the narcissism of small differences. Mm-hmm. A phrase I learned when I skipped kindergarten.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, because we are so similar in most ways, when we have a difference, to me it's like dramatic, where I'm like, well, Sam is so weird because he's wearing a white shirt and I'm wearing a blue shirt.
Well, especially with this thing, because you were like, suddenly I was like, no, it's not that I won't. You were like, you get up at 8 all the time. And I was like, of course, that's not what I'm saying. Right, that's not what I can't.
Yeah, it's because you were speaking as though you're someone who like gets up at 1 p.m. every day. I'm like, I get texts from you at 8 a.m. Like, you are a businessman. You are collecting returns on your investments first thing in the morning.
Of course. But
so
having a light conversation.
I see. Well, yeah, I mean, that's impossible.
I mean, that's more difficult.
Yeah, I guess you're right. See, I mean, this is our difference where like I feel that way when it's like 6 p.m. where I'm like, well, I might as well be asleep.
Sure.
The morning, I'm like, well, I have my coffee. It hasn't dawned on me that like the sort of daily I was about to say sadness, but that's not it. I'm actually a very happy person and really joyous.
Toxic.
But like the daily anxieties have not set in and don't set in until lunch.
Okay, but if the daily anxieties have not set in, what do you have to talk about?
I see what you're saying. That's where my personality comes from. And it's a double bind for sure.
Because this is my impression of the morning. Okay. It's sort of like, so how'd you sleep?
Well, morning is post-coital. Actually, anyone you talk to in the morning, whether it's in the subway, whether it's the person you're ordering your coffee from, you are having a post-coital conversation. It's
post-coital in a way that's also like, so when are we going to separate and go do our things for the day?
Yes, 100%.
Like right now, it's like I can't be like, so what'd you do today? Because it's like, well, I commuted. And it's like, oh, well, how was the commute?
True.
And it's like, good.
Well, it's the difference between daytime TV and a late night talk show. And I won't
explain. No, please. I'm begging you.
No, I refuse. And if you need more, then you need to read a book for once. Wow. I actually had a topic I want to talk about, but I think at this point it's not relevant anymore.
Try it.
Well, I've just been sort of like, this is so, trend culture in a way that I don't like when we address, because I'm like, we're not like other gay guys.
Well, not to mention we're banking episodes.
Well, we're banking episodes. No, but it's not that kind of trend.
Okay.
It's like when people say that, I'm doing air quotes for everyone listening, when people say that Gen Z, like, is prude or like doesn't like sex, I'm like, shut up. Let them grow up, and then we'll decide if they like sex or not.
No, I know what you mean. There's a desperation to put a stamp on a generation.
It's like, so what are you about?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, you're 18, you have no idea what's going on, so you're sex negative.
Yeah, and by the way, I lived in San Francisco when I was young. I went to Folsom. I was like taken aback by it. If I were to go now, I'd be having the time of my life. That's called growing up.
Right. I mean, literally, yeah, I'm like rewriting history and being like, I was always such a huge slut. And it's like, no, I wasn't a huge slut till I was like 23.
Okay, late bloomer alert.
And even then, it was a rolling admission, It was, there's different kinds of slut. But it does get complicated because everyone's on the internet.
Yeah.
I think before, if you went to Folsom when you were 19 and you were scandalized, you wouldn't
I hadn't seen, I didn't know I was gay.
You wouldn't have run to Twitter and posted about it and started a campaign.
Well, but this is the thing, is like, and this is the thing with the internet, is that we judge entire groups of people based on the people that post. And actually, the only real binary in this world is people who post and people who don't.
Yeah.
And the people who post are clinically insane
of
and
course
need to be sent to American Horror Story Asylum, and the people who don't post are normal and a diverse group of Americans.
100%. I mean, I actually find there's certain people in my life that post, but they also do this thing where they find the one really negative person posting and are like, I can't believe I'm seeing people posting this. And it's like, you're seeing one person. That person is not a movement.
Yes, and by the way, the implication there is like, look how stupid everyone else is. Guess who's stupid? You, for thinking that's universal.
100%. And also just like trying to find an outlet for your mental illness, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we say mental illness, we mean it as a stigma.
Of course. Please stigmatize it.
Stigmatize it.
Now more than ever.
Now more than ever. Oh my God, did you see someone called us out for saying now more than ever is future oriented and not past oriented?
I mean,
wait, should we bring in our guest?
Yeah, we should.
Okay, so this guest, I mean, talk about a guest that to me, we've overused mother, but I'm like, this woman gave birth to me in a hospital, and it was not an easy birth.
This woman gave birth to the concept of giving birth.
It's actually like, and I actually feel condescending and insulting even saying it in those terms, because I'm like, well, this isn't just some random person that gave birth. Okay, so please welcome Droege.
Hi, y'all. How's it going?
Good.
Drew, we need you to actually shepherd us into this conversation we're about to have.
I mean, I've been trying to. I'm just literally biting my lip, and literally I've been like gasping and nodding and like wanting to include myself in the conversation since it started.
So initial thoughts. Do you think Gen Z is prude?
No, I totally agree with you. I feel like they are. You grow as you get piggier when you get older. Like you just. Do. I'm a bigger slut in my 40s than I was in my 20s for sure. Like easy. And I think it's also like, you also make these weird rules about who you are, what you will do, what you won't do. Or I did. I mean, I had all these weird tent poles in my 20s that I don't have anymore about things. And now I care less about my body or like what what you look like. And now you're like, and the bodies that I'm into and the sex that I'm into. And I think that just comes with maturity and just with going, oh, this is cool. This is fine. Like everything used to be about moments and curating and being like, I can't live outside of this thing. But you're right. We also want to make generations. We also want to. It's also, to me, so boring to be like these kids are like blah blah blah. I'm learning so much from young people, and I learn from people older than me and old people. I mean, I want to constantly look ahead and behind and sort of be like, we have a lot to learn from each other versus that like, oh, this is what this group is like, and that's what this group is like. That's kind of what's gotten us into trouble as a world. Like, you're other than me. And
exactly.
And it's so dumb. And it's like, especially as queer people, and, I think, in terms of non-binary, it's like if we don't think in terms of the binary, I love that the people who post and people who don't post, sure, but like, but it's
this podcast
like,
is about binaries.
What'd you say?
This podcast is about binaries.
I love it.
We like to
Very much purple and not green.
Yeah, we destroy existing toxic ones, then we create new ones that are generative.
I love it.
Still toxic. Yeah.
Still
yes,
toxic.
Sure.
Of course.
Wait, but you said something that I think is so smart, and I actually think points to a real gay v queer v straight thing, which is straight people consider their youth to be their sexually adventurous time.
Oh.
Queer people get more sexually adventurous as they age, and I actually think that the tension there is a lot of where the misunderstanding about Gen Z maybe comes from, because as you also mentioned off mic, Gen Z is more openly queer and experimenting more. So I think it all sort of tracks that maybe they're evolving as they go.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you go for it.
No, I was going to say, like, also, we're learning that your sexuality and the sex that you have are different. So, like, your sexual identity. So you can be 8 years old and say I'm gay, and have no idea what that means in terms of the actual. You're not having sex,
Totally.
like you're, but you understand what it means. It's like I like Barbie more than Oppenheimer or whatever. But like it's like which is not my situation.
That's a new binary.
But but you know what I mean. Like you know what you like. I mean, I knew things about being gay way before I knew sexual things, and then I knew what I was, attracted to way before I was actually doing it. And then their thing, so that's the thing that I think is maybe confusing. They were having kids coming out much younger, but then when it comes to the actual acts of things, when they are, 17, 18 years old, they might still be virgins, but that doesn't mean that they haven't had like an understanding of their sexuality way longer than that.
That's a good point. Well, it's also like identity versus action.
Yes.
Like, I think there is much more emphasis on almost like an anxiety around like, what is my identity as a young person?
It's the only power you have.
It's the only power you have. And maybe that's at the expense of action, where you're like, I forgot to have sex because I was focused on being gay.
Maybe so. I mean, I feel that way. Like,
I definitely was that way.
I was all about, like, I was reading books about being gay. I don't need to do it. What do you mean? I have actually kiss a boy to be gay? Like, oh, ew, what? I mean, I think also, we think about, I don't know, I don't know where I'm going with this, but we have these like thoughts and feelings that are different from what we're actually doing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's also on the internet, for instance, you are surrounded by other people's voices so much that you actually forget you can't know what your own voice is thinking outside of the context of the cacophony of the other voices.
Yes.
I do think, in the context of Gen Z being like knowing identity before action, there is something where like the Tumblrification of the world, there's a lot more like reading to do. There's a lot more thinking that you can have and a lot more reflecting you can do on your identity that before there's action. Like before, if it was like, okay, I like reading about gay or like watching movies about gay, it's like, okay, well, here's the 8 you can consume.
Right.
It's the eating out series.
Yeah.
Yes,
Nothing
exactly.
else, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part 4 is the best one. For
that's
no
right.
reason.
Yes.
No
Oh
reason
my
in particular,
gosh,
but
I
part 4 is
forgot.
particularly
Oh my God, I
the
forgot
best.
you were
Mother is mothering.
This is why Mother is mothering, because she was in Eating Out 4 drama camp.
My God, of course. I completely forgot. That is so iconic.
That was actually, I'm very proud of being in those movies. It was a very fun moment getting to do that.
I mean, talk about gay culture.
I mean,
fully.
You will have that forever.
That is amazing.
Yeah. It was really a very, very cool thing.
I mean, Stonewall found dead in a ditch.
People didn't die at Stonewall, but they did die filming Eating Out 4.
They did die. They did. We were shooting at a Jewish day camp in Malibu, and I had to do a sex scene in a rabbi's office. And a rabbi was walking by thinking that we were shooting porn, and we got shut down for a week. And we had to explain, no, this is just a really raunchy, but kind of R-ish. I don't know.
You're like, well, with the Tumblrification of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, Rabbi, what you don't understand. No. Yeah. So yeah, that was.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, also the evolution thing is true. Like, I think what you're saying about like getting more open as you get older is really apt. Because I do think,
I hope so. I want to get more open, not just sexually, but with everything. I do see, like, I've had this thing lately where it's like, we'll talk about this later, but I'm in a show right now, and I'm 46, and I'm the oldest person in the cast, and I kind of love it. I love Mother, and they literally call me Mima there, and I'm like, I love it, and it's hilarious to me. But as you get older, you're like, there are paths that you could either be John Waters, Grace Jones, Debbie Harry, and be punk rock and cool day one till day 9,000, like, whatever. Days,
I was going to say 100.
I don't know. Day 100, I don't know. But like, those people have stayed in their truth, and they have just stayed so cool and so great. And then there are the people like, I'll say it, Martin Scorsese and Stephen Sondheim, who insanely talented people who have so disappointed me in their final works.
Yeah.
Oh.
I find them to be like, oh, I mean, I just saw the Scorsese movie, and you probably haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it yet.
And it just went out. It is the most upsetting ending, because it's like, old straight man, you have centered yourself in this story, like in the most obvious way that you could possibly do. And it's like, you made Goodfellas, you made King of Comedy, which is one of the greatest movies ever made. Like, it's not like you're not good. You just have decided not to grow with where we are.
Wow, interesting.
And that's all I will say, because I don't want to.
And you feel that way about Sondheim as well?
I do. His latest show, he refuses to represent queer people in his shows.
Well, that's...
Even when he is doing it. I'm sorry, I would fight him about Company. Company's about a gay man. And he even said it's not about a gay man. Well, sometimes writers are wrong about their own work. Well, I've been wrong about things I've written, and I've had people tell me. It is, and it's about him, and it's a generation of gay men like Everett Albee and Tennessee Williams, brilliant, all of our heroes who refused to represent queer people on stage. They were off stage getting eaten by cannibals, or they looked like Marlon Brando. They were these brooding people. And in Sondheim's new musical, he has a queer character who gets changed by a man. It's a queer, non-binary female. I think it's a lesbian character. They don't really call it out, and then they get turned by a man.
So.
And I think it's kind of it's the joke in that, like, oh, this kid thinks that she's really like liberal, but she's kind of a brat.
Yeah.
But it's like, boo. When you're that old, like, that's not the comment you need to make about young people. Like, they're all phony, and they actually aren't really queer. They're actually lying. That's gross. We've done that. We've been there. As a queer person, I was offended. And Sondheim wrote my favorite. I mean, Sunday at the Park with George is my favorite musical of all time. So it's not like I'm not a fan. I'm a huge fan. It's just that I watch it and I go, ouch. And I hate that.
See, to me, with something like Company, I'm like, his own, whatever you want to call it, self-loathing or a refusal to like think of queerness as a valid thing that a character can be or whatever. Right. It's almost like a metatextual part of the experience of watching Company.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's a very generous reading.
Yeah.
Because obviously you are right on some level, but there's something about it where you're like, it almost makes it more interesting to me to see this character written by a gay man who doesn't want to make him a gay man. Right. It's almost like watching Frasier, where you're like, this is about gay men.
Sure.
We were talking about this last night.
Yes.
Where it's almost like, I mean, this is the classic queer thing of like, like interpreting something as queer that's not meant to be queer or whatever. Right. Yeah. And sometimes that feels more, I don't know, generative or something.
Well, and I think it's very interesting dramatically to watch a character go through that or like refuse to deal, because we all have gone through that. We all have been the things of like, I wasn't anything. I was just asexual for so long until I came out. And I was like, I can't. I have rehearsal. Like, that was my sexuality. So I find that those characters very interesting.
Totally.
But we write these amazing female characters because we're scared of writing men that have vulnerability and queerness in them. And we create Blanche Dubois, or we create Samantha on Sex and the City. We create these over-the-top characters because we're more comfortable writing women. And thank God I love these women characters, and I love when I sometimes get to play women. I love playing women, and I love that we get to sort of play between gender. But there's something about like, I just hope that the next generation, and they're writing gay men that are complicated, that are messy, that are not like heroes and perfect. And I don't want to see another like coming out thing, but I feel like it's just interesting that we don't always deal with that head on, and it's fascinating to me.
Well, now's a good time to say, last night we saw Titanique and you were so incredible.
I mean, talk about just like a pure... I said, finally some food. And every time you were on stage, I was like smiling ear to ear.
Oh,
like, I was truly like in heaven on Molly at Coachella.
Oh my God.
I also loved watching you in the group like scenes and just being like, what is he up to out there? And it was
What
so
is he
fun.
up to out there? I'm having so much fun. It's a musical, which I do not sing or dance. And so it is so scary going out every night / so much fun. But I play the one character that just gets to scream, and that's why you can hear it in my voice, because it's so much screaming that I get to do. But yes, should we talk? It's a musical
Yes.
parody of Titanic with the music of Celine Dion. And Celine Dion is our narrator through the show. So the brilliant Jackie Burns plays Celine Dion and just sort of basically tells you her version of Titanic. And
you play the mother.
I'm the mother. I'm the Frances Fisher
character.
Ruth, who's the Kate Winslet's mother. Yes.
I mean, something that always gets me is like a character that's supposed to be like sort of, you're supposed to be passive aggressive. Like that character is not supposed to be, but then you are like, shut the fuck up.
Oh, like absolutely.
I mean, that is so fun. Or like you literally call your daughter the C word.
Oh, I sure do. Every night I get to call her that. I know, that's what I love about parody, and it's something that the brilliant Jackie Beat said, because we do a Golden Girls parody together in LA, and Jackie said, with parody, you have to give people what they think they remember, which I think is so great, because it's like, I watched the movie Titanic before I came here to do the show, and I, of course, had seen the movie at least twice. I don't know, it's very long.
Really
not as long as the new Scorsese movie, but it's long. And Frances Fisher is great, but she's in a film and she barely does anything. She barely talks over a whisper. She's just very cold and stoic, and kind of comes on and kind of gives side eye. And it just doesn't really play. You have to kind of go, okay, I remember her being evil and awful and cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like, and so also when you put me in it and I have a hat that's just two birds kissing on top of my head, I can't just go out there and be like, and leave. It's like, why am I here other than to just cause major chaos? But everyone is heightened. I mean, everyone is just, playing it at that level. I mean, Billy Zane in the movie fully understands the assignment. I mean, he's
talk about
leaning
camp.
into the camp of it all, and I think we're all kind of doing the Billy Zane lens, in the show.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's what we were both saying afterwards. We were like, it felt really Billy Zane lens.
Did he write this? Did he write and direct this?
I'm feeling him throughout the text. This is amazing.
I did a Funny or Die video with Billy Zane many years ago, and he came in the door, and then he was in this trench coat looking amazing. He had all these bags with him, and he had just come from the airport, and I was just trying to make small talk, and you're like, what are you going to say? And I remember saying, I was like, oh, did you just come from the airport? And he's like, yes. And I said, where have you come from? And he goes, Bangkok. And I'm like, of course you've just come from Bangkok. You're Billy Zane.
He's always just coming
He's always just arrived from Bangkok, looking fabulous in a sable coat.
Yeah, he's looking fabulous arriving from Bangkok, but also at the Funny or Die offices.
100%.
That is very
100%.
No, there was something about the Funny or Die offices, though. There was an era where they had pull no one else.
Oh, everybody wanted to do a Funny or Die video.
It was actually wild.
Remember?
Yes.
I mean, Marion Cotillard did one.
I mean, Mariah Carey did one.
Yes.
It was sort of like, how are they getting this
I
level?
actually think Funny or Die's success.
Well, that's Brian Safi. That's the brilliance of Brian Safi, who Anyway, yeah.
But I think the success of a Funny or Die during the exact moment we were coming up made us have warped expectations for comedy success.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, so literally comedy is like what rock and roll was in the 70s. And we are the new generation.
Sure. And then let's all join at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I remember it's in the 90s when we all started collecting comic books, because we were like, oh, these are going to be worth so much. And they're like, nope, they're not worth anything 30-some years later.
Yeah, we're sort of the Princess Diana Beanie Baby comedians.
Yeah, 100%.
Bubble burst.
The bubble burst.
Yeah, and continues to over and
all
over.
you can hope for is a Netflix documentary.
Which, here's $6 coming your way.
Yeah.
I know.
Wait, first of all, I want to get into Messy White Gays, then I also want to get into our topic, but we should do our first segment first.
Yeah, we should do our first segment.
Okay.
Would you like to?
I would love to. Our first segment is called Straight Shooters, and in this segment, we will ask you a series of rapid-fire questions to gauge your familiarity with and complicity in straight culture.
Love it.
It's basically this thing or this other thing, and you just pick one.
Okay, with no commentary.
It's going to make no sense, and you can't ask.
The only rule is you can't ask a single follow-up question or we will scream at you.
Yeah, I love it.
To a degree where our voice will be even hoarser than yours.
Okay, great.
Okay, Sam, take it away.
Okay. Playing the violin or playing the victim?
Playing the victim.
Lazy Sunday or Busy Phillips?
Lazy Sunday.
Okay. Having a discerning eye or having a concerning rash?
Oh, having a discerning eye.
Winning an Emmy or having a semi?
Having a semi.
Okay. The British pronunciation of non-binary or the American salutation of hi Hillary?
I like non-binary.
I love non-binary.
I'm obsessed with non-binary.
I've never heard that.
I haven't either. Okay. Jenny from the Block or Jared from Subway?
Oh, Jenny from the Block.
Okay. A short shelf life or a long twink death?
Ooh.
Oh, long twink death.
Okay. Bridesmaids by Kristen Wiig or Biden's aides adjusting his wig?
Oh.
I have no idea what that second thing is. Bridesmaids by Kristen Wiig.
You don't know who Biden is?
Who is Biden?
Right, so
So I keep hearing this Biden.
he was VP under Obama.
Who was he in Bridesmaids?
He played the Melissa McCarthy character.
Oh,
actually.
no, okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, good.
Yeah, he was amazing. He was nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, it was really moving.
Really a great move
But
for comedy
still-
during the Funny or Die era.
Of course.
Truly.
Yeah. I'll never forget his series with Funny or Die.
I mean, you joke, but we're almost there.
Yeah.
He's about to do.
I mean, you're so right. The way that for the next election cycle, who knows what toxic media will get made.
When I think about the 2024 election, like it makes me so upset that I can't even joke about it.
The way that he will be on podcasts that will be made into reels is going to be crazy.
Fully. And it's like, are we going to do this all over again in 2020 again? But we're just all 4 years older and angrier and crazier.
For the third time, like Trump.
Really? And will he be in jail when he's running? I mean, like, at what point are we doing? And Biden again? Really? Are we really going to try to push this again?
Well, it's like first is tragedy, then as far as then what? Because it's a hard time.
Right.
What is the third thing?
We need a new cast.
We desperately need a new cast.
We need
a new season.
We need to pull a
fully.
Titanique.
And that's something that
and fly someone over from LA.
that I would say 98% of Americans would agree on. You know what I mean? Like that's literally talk about like non-binary. We all feel that way. Like I really do think that. And we're just all like kind of going,
Yeah. Well, we've created a world in which it actually is only sort of insane people that want to go into politics.
You have to be. You really have to be.
Or like not even insane, but just like cynical, slimy. Like the idea that anyone could have any sort of authentic desire to do good and then think the solution to that is to be a politician is a fantasy.
It's complicated. Because like, well, somebody has to do it.
Simple. Sam and I were talking last night about how when people talk about like some sort of news event and they're like, it's not complicated. It's simple. And you're like, thanks.
Right, exactly. Like, I totally. My thing now, like when I say things and people go, "Oh, tell me how you really feel." I'm like, I hope I always will.
Yeah.
Like I hate that. Like now that's like subtle shade. I'm like,
yeah.
Ew. Aren't we on this earth to find our truth and tell us how we really feel? Versus like the South that I grew up in, which is like, don't have your feelings. Don't let anybody really know who you are. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
But people don't. They just grab onto phrases and they say things like that they don't really know what they mean.
Isn't that sad? Sometimes when I feel
people
myself,
say no worries, which drives me crazy.
I'm a no worries chica.
I'm a no worries chica.
But no worries is when it wouldn't be a worry. But like I hate when you walk in. I'll go. I'll have a coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Why would that be a problem?
Yeah.
Or what? No worries. And you're like, why would that be? Versus like, can I sit outside? It's a little crowded in here. That's when you say no worry. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
People just say things as knee-jerk reaction things. And it's the improviser writer in me that just gets really like that I just need to let go of because that's so not sexy. To
No,
be, like,
you
word police. But
100%.
But I really will be like, what? Why would that be a problem?
Yeah, or when some random, in terms of word policing, when some random person posts like an engagement photo and she's like, with my forever guy, and my instinct is to be like, that's not original. Shut up, bitch.
I fully.
It's like, well, she got engaged.
Why
Like,
would
what do
she
you-
be original?
She's not a writer-performer.
Well, there's also that. I know.
Like, she's
when
just
you're
a
at
girl.
weddings, speeches at weddings, and like when the people get up and you're like, cut, edit. You didn't need that joke, and like we didn't need all
Yeah,
that.
I've heard it 100 times, sweetheart.
Put me in your head, and you're like, this is someone's wedding. I'm not at a comedy show. I'm not giving notes. I'm not directing a solo show right now.
It's tough because we
hard
can
to be
all
us in the
find
world, isn't it?
Yeah.
but we can also
To be
find
constantly
ourselves
disappointed.
we can find ourselves like slipping into those little vocal things and like it's hard to avoid them. When like a vocal thing becomes like trendy, it's really hard to avoid. Cuz even like I hear myself talking and it's sort of like, you know, saying like sweetheart after something, it's like I didn't come by that naturally.
No.
That is a trend that I am hopping on. And I'm like, well, but right now it's still fun. Like I'm mostly being like, well, I am going to hop on trends and I just have to trust myself that I'll hop off the trend before
Right.
it's too late.
Right.
Also, people have different pet peeves, and sometimes you like. I used to say "it is what it is" a lot, and one time a friend of mine was like, "God, I hate when people say it is what it is." Like, what does that even mean? And I was like, "Oh God!" Like, to me, it's just like sometimes you want to be like, "Oh well."
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
And I know it's a cliche, but for whatever reason, it wasn't one of those cliches that bothered me. And I was like, "So, how many times have you been like rolling your eyes because I said it is what it is?"
I think also we use excuses when we like someone, things don't bother us.
Yeah.
When we don't like someone, we will that's for me. Social media is the perfect litmus test if I like someone or not.
Yeah.
If I like the person, I'll see their post with my forever guy and go, oh my God, that is so sweet. And if I don't, I go, oh, you're not original. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like it really is like, you know, I think there are just certain reasons that you can.
We'll talk about context. Literally, the context is your existing alliances and rivalries.
Yeah, fully.
No, if I like someone and they're being annoying, the most loving thing I can do is just mute them. That's how I know I
No,
care.
it's very true.
Because it's like, I just don't want to see your output. I want
Right.
to remember you as you.
I've had people that, I guess with muting, they don't know that you've muted them. But when
No.
sometimes I've literally just unfriended people online and they get really upset. And I'm like, this isn't real. Like, I really like you in person. I just don't like what you put out on. And if you must know, I can't stand
Guess
it.
what? I like you as a person. I don't want to go into your bathroom and look at your shit that you just
Thank
took.
you.
I want to go out for coffee.
Yes, exactly.
So if you're interested in that, then we can talk.
We can absolutely talk. There's so many people I really like genuinely in person, and online they are absolute monsters. And then vice versa. You're like, I like your content and I never want to hang out with
Oh,
you.
of course. People that are
Oh my
so funny and so
God.
charming online, and then you meet them and they're like unable to hold eye contact.
Who is this person? Fully.
Yeah.
Or like, my favorite is when they're like super, super empathetic on the internet and being like, seriously, guys, like now more than ever, we need to think about this. And then you meet them in person, and they're like the rudest person on earth.
Of course. Well, it's also, you know, people play the opposites. Like, it's just an acting thing and it's a life thing. You know, they tell you what they think they want you to think about themselves. Anytime a person says, I'm a good person, red flag.
Yeah.
You know, it's like saying, I'm really humble, I'm really intelligent, I'm really
Or it's like
funny.
a comedian being like, my job is to make people laugh. And
Oh, I know. You're like,
we're not doing
okay.
that currently.
Yeah, it's like dot.
Wait, I'm like, okay, I want to get into our topic. I want to also touch on, so you're here partly to do a reading of your new play, here in New York, partly to do a reading of your new play.
Yes. I've written a new play. I'm in the process of writing and developing a new play called Messy White Gaze. That we did readings this week and the week before, but I'm hopefully going to do more.
Okay, great.
Throughout, but it's a take on Hitchcock's Rope. It's actually ripping off Hitchcock's Rope. Do y'all know that movie, Rope? It opens with a murder. It's a very queer. Hitchcock made it in 1948 with openly queer actors, and it's based on Leopold and Loeb, who were a gay couple in the 20s, who were very wealthy and gorgeous gay men who decided to murder someone to see if they could get away with it. And it was it weirdly parallels with fascism and with this like having this ideal perfect body and being being like, we're wealthy and attractive and no one will. We had no motive, so let's just kill someone. So they did not get away with it. So Rope was made. It was a play and then it was a movie. And I've been really fascinated in white gay culture with our obsession with how we look, and with the fact that you go to these parties and there are no people of color at this party, and it is, or maybe one that's like a token, and or if maybe they fetishize that, but they don't have friends that are that way. So I just was sort of writing this play with sort of all of that in mind. And I wanted to write a play in New York because my other plays have been in California. So I wanted to write something that was that. And so basically it opens with a throuple murdering, two guys murdering their third, stuffing the body in a Jonathan Adler credenza, and having brunch with a dead body in the room. And it's just problematic, terrible gay white men. And I feel like my other stuff, there's way more heart. This is like a pitch black.
Oh, I love
no one comes out of this play as a good person. And that's the point I'm making, kind of where we're at as white people, that we all want to be the good white person. And I'm like, what if none of us are? And we can all just sit in that for a minute and look at ourselves, hopefully for 90 minutes. And as gay people, how we attach our otherness across all the what that means in terms of race and gender, sexuality, all of it, that we kind of miss things just by feeling like, well, I'm gay, so I understand the experience of fill in the blank.
Totally.
And hopefully it's a comedy on top of it.
I love that. Well, Sam and I were talking last night about just, this is not an original thought, but the specific experience of, as a white gay guy, being like, sort of being able to move seamlessly between oppressor and oppressed, however you see fit.
Yes.
Talk about non-binary. You are smashing that binary.
You are absolutely.
You're like, well, today I've decided to be oppressed.
Exactly.
So
that tomorrow I can
sign the petition, and then tomorrow I'm going to fire my entire staff.
Exactly, because I'm going to be a white man at the end of the day, and I'm going to shoot when and also like what we post on social media, which is always like so sanctimonious and on the right side of history, and then going through the world, it's like, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not that you have to be constantly, and then sometimes some of us are doing too much, or we're performing too much to try to be the good one, and just how we're, and so that's why I call this messy, and I was called messy online at times, and sort of being like, oh, then let's just explore that and see what that's about, because I feel like we don't look at that enough, and I think we have a lot of work to do. So yeah.
It's sort of the American Psycho of gay.
It's very. I mean, I did not realize until I picked up American Psycho a few years ago, and like everything I've written is a direct. I mean, my Chloe videos are literally ripping off Bret Easton Ellis from that. The way that book was written, how there's just these soulless lists of like what we were eating, what we were wearing, what we were listening to. It's just like, oh, and that's how you're describing an experience. Like there's no emotion in it. And I found that so fascinating and funny, and just being like, oh, wow, that's so, yeah. So I've very much been influenced by, and talk about a problematic person whose work I love, but who
He's having a real resurgence now. People love the new book.
His new book is wonderful.
Wow.
The Shards, it's wonderful. Yeah, I just finished it. I loved it. And there is more heart and emotion, and way more sex. Like it is definitely his gayest book for sure.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay.
And it's very long, but very good.
Huh. Well, should we get into our topic?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I think it's time.
Now that
we've done our 48-minute introduction. So, Drew.
Yes.
We were brainstorming a topic before, and you said this one, and we were like, perfect. It's such a perfect StraightioLab topic. And so tell us what it is, and maybe a little bit why you think it's straight.
Okay. I will talk about hunting. I had to go hunting many times as a kid. Our family, we would always go on Thanksgiving morning. I grew up in North Carolina. This was always in South Carolina because my grandparents in South Carolina, but the Carolinas, we'll say. And Thanksgiving morning was always, it would be, in my memory, it was like 4 a.m., but it was probably closer to 6. I don't know. Dark out, crying, begging not to go. It was always cold and wet, and I had to go in the back of a truck with the dogs that were these pointers, and we would bird hunt. We would hunt for birds and quail, and I had these 12-gauge shotguns that kicked, and they would hit the back, hit your shoulder. It was horrible, and it's like, go kill birds. That these dogs, they find the bird and they point towards the thing, and you shoot and kill these quail, and then. And they would freeze them, and then at Christmas we would eat these birds. And sometimes you're biting in the birds, and you were having like buckshot in the bite.
Oh God!
And we were not. I mean, I know that sounds like this thing. we were like middle class Southern people. It wasn't like this thing we had to do. We didn't have to do this. This was the 1980s. It wasn't like back in the frontier days.
It definitely sounded like it was giving 1800s.
Fully. And I think about that and how casually we accepted that. And the women all stayed home and made Thanksgiving dinner. And that's what I wanted to do, obviously, with like,
of course,
with my mom and the aunts and the grandmothers, to be like, let's make stuffing and not do that.
How old were you when you started doing this?
Good question. I want to say like 7 or 8.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit
really
older.
formative.
Yes.
That is so
it.
scary to me.
Yes.
I remember being like, of course, the aesthetics of hunting I'm obsessed with. I mean, a little orange vest, the camo.
Sam loves a camo.
I mean, even walking through like the woods and sort of peering, looking for something.
I
That's
love the
fun.
woods. Like, I love the outdoor. I love going through the wood. I love all that. I don't have any sort of.
Well, we love a hike.
We love a hike,
Love a hike.
but then it comes time to pull the trigger, and it's like,
Right.
whoa, now we're getting a little serious.
I will say I hate birds. Like, I have no love for birds.
I fully agree, actually. I've
agree as
always
well.
hated birds, and I've never felt safe to talk
my
about
love
it.
of animals is so separate from my
Okay, actually,
100%,
it's
like-
birds and fish. I actually don't need them.
I love eating them both.
Oh my God,
I eat
delicious.
them both.
I love sushi.
Dogs and cats, I love so much. Like
course.
any dog or cat that comes in I don't care about a people immediately when a
Yeah.
dog or a cat's involved. I love them. And I can also feel like upset. Like, I mean, rabbits, whatever. They're cute, but they have no soul. But like, they
Yeah.
don't really care.
Yeah.
But like, even a pig is great. Like or whatever. You're like, oh, it's an animal. You get the thing. Birds are like, they're dinosaurs. They're like loud, screechy. They're like they're just ugly, gross. Pretty to look at far away.
Sure.
But I still don't want to kill one. Like, there's something about like, I don't feel the same connection. I mean, there'd be no way. Like, I've never killed a chicken. I've never had to kill like I guess a bird's a warm-blooded animal. I guess it is. I don't know. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but
guess.
maybe
Well,
not.
I don't know.
Wait, you can't ask
There's
stuff like
so
that.
much science that I knew in 5th grade that I do not know anymore.
I
Now
hate
I'm
when
like,
someone
I don't
asks
know.
a question that's like, oh no, now I have to answer.
The
Like,
other day I was literally like, could I do long division?
Fully no. And I used to be like so good at all that stuff. And there's no way I can do that now. No, but there was just something about what for me that was the worst part was that it was cold. I didn't enjoy the presence of men. I think about that when I was young. It again, talk about getting older and now loving the company of men. But like, we would go like, and a lot of it was also connected with church. Like there was a thing called Men of the Church breakfast that we would have to go early. It was also like you'd lose sleep.
Men of the Church breakfast is actually eating out 5. Men of the Church breakfast.
Fully. And we would get up early, and it was like with all the men, and like we would make this thing called red eye gravy that was gravy made with coffee and bacon grease. It was so disgusting. It's disgusting, or at least in my memory of it. And country ham, which is so salty, just and like just these memories of like men together. But I think it's where it's like I can find a straight man attractive in theory, like in terms of like. In films that I watch, sure, but in life, I'm really attracted to gay men. Like I really am. I feel grateful for that thing where I'm not like, oh my God, this straight guy, I'm really into him. There's so few straight guys that I will really pine for.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I just was sort of like I didn't feel connected to any of them, and so like having to do that thing of hunting or like Men of the Church, like why do the men have to go get together? And I just never bonded with men in that way. And it's a straight thing that I never connected with.
Yeah, there is really
Whereas
something.
I love being at a gay bar and I love doing this. Like I love, but it was something that I always had a gay friend growing up. I moved around a lot in the South and I track back, my best friend, I'm still in touch with almost all of my best friends and we're all out gay men now. I feel very lucky to have always found the one to be like, let's go watch Elvira and talk about why we like that. And that's why I understood about being gay before I knew I was gay, in the sense of like, it was like, oh, this other soft boy laughs at the same things that I laugh at.
Yeah. The real tell that I think is really smart is that like feeling disconnected from like the adult men. I remember that so vividly. And even something as small as like we're all watching the game, and me being like this does not speak to me in
At
any
all.
form.
I cannot get this in my brain.
Yeah, and at that point, it wasn't even like because I love whatever else. It was just like something about this does not speak to me.
Fully.
It's a very confusing feeling.
Yeah. So that was more the hunting thing versus the yes, there's the violence attached to that too when you're having a gun and but like we never really had guns in our house. I mean, my grandfather had shotguns that were like locked up, but that was it was a very different thing. Like it was never a sense of like we were never like a gun family or anything like that.
Yeah. I went to my uncle lives in North Carolina, and we go there in Ahoskie. Do you know where? It's like very rural. It's like an hour in from the coast. It's like farmland.
Okay. Oh, great. Okay.
And he lives on a farm there, and he has guns, and like but he's very like sweet and calm and nice, and not super like macho. But he like one time we started like trying to shoot the guns and being like he was like, this is how you do it, and I was like, wait, this is actually so fun. There's something so toxic about shooting a gun where you're like, I get it.
Oh, I fully get it. I had to do it for a job. We did a scene at a shooting range, and I was so creeped out by it, but then I got there and you have the gun in your hand and you're like, oh, this feels great.
It's wild.
Like the most obvious sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The most
phallic,
like power. Just like
power,
it's the most obvious embodiment of power. Like you literally have a gun that could kill someone.
Right.
It's like, okay, so for one day I'm in the White House.
Yes. I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain now.
Talk about it's something I wish that when I did I would be like, yeah, that doesn't really speak to me. But instead I was like, no,
you understand. Right.
Now I understand why people go completely insane.
Yeah,
because
but then you're
this.
like, okay, so what if everyone had the power? Not good.
Well, no, I don't want it. It's just and then we don't do it anymore because I was like, this is dangerous. It was starting to scare me.
Yeah. So, okay, two things in terms of hunting. First of all, we said before we started recording, hunting straight, gathering queer.
Yes.
Which I think we all stand by.
Beautiful sentiment.
Yes.
A truly incredible.
Yes.
Because you get the woods, you get the wandering, but it's
also
without
gathering
the violence.
is curation.
Curation.
Of course.
And that's
I have
also
every
necessary.
playbill from every play I've ever seen since 1991.
The way
You know
that
what I mean?
literally this year, I was like, I bit the bullet and ordered a playbill binder on Amazon.
No way.
And I was like, really? I'm doing this like in my 30s? Like this is something that like a teen would do from like Ohio.
Or an 80-year-old.
Or an 80-year-old.
Right, I love it.
But I was like, well, I'm doing it.
Wow.
And the rainbow playbill from when I saw Sarah Jessica Parker in Plaza Suite is there.
Oh, well, there you go. What a great pride play.
Incredible pride
Neil
play.
Simon's Plaza Suite.
Yeah, truly.
So queer.
And then the other thing is, okay, this is sort of a more unfinished thought, but I'm like, in our current era where you are so alienated from anyone that produces anything you eat, anything you consume, is there an argument to be made that hunting is like more, there's something there where you can at least track like, oh, I ate this chicken that I killed, rather than like I exist in a completely disembodied like virtual capitalist self that has no connection to the people that did any of the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, should queer people reclaim hunting and be like in little booty shorts going out and shooting birds?
I mean, with that argument, I think 100% yes.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that is like, duh.
Because I'm like, of course, when you're describing this, I'm like, ugh, stupid straight guys. Like, I would never want to do that. And then it's like, okay, so then I'm going and buying like chicken tenders at Julius, and who knows who made those? Who killed those chickens?
Someone killed those chickens.
Well, there is an element of the queer lifestyle that is that sort of metropolitan cut off.
Well, that's why I wrote the play that I wrote, because I feel like that's what we do metaphorically.
Yeah, it's the violence like under everything.
I'm disposing of you. We've already had sex, and that's all I needed from you. I don't really. You're dime a dozen. You know. Oh, you don't know the current lingo. You don't know you're out. Like how we quickly dispose of each other. Yeah.
There's something. What's good about this podcast is that we're not making a judgment call. Straight is not better or worse than gay.
No, often it's better.
It's often like the hunting thing is actually. I'm like, oh, they're right. That's actually better. In fact, I remember when I was like in college and starting to cook my own food, and I was like, okay, I'm cooking like chicken, and then I was like so grossed out, and I was like, this is disgusting, and like a friend was like, well, it's pretty hypocritical that you think it's gross when you cook it, and then like buy chicken somewhere else, and I was like, you're right, and so I like stopped eating meat for many years, but then like at some point I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to embrace the hypocrisy.
Right. So like,
Well,
and that's when I became fully comfortable in my gay self.
Talking about white gay, I mean, embracing the hypocrisy is literally what we're all about.
Yes. And acknowledging it.
And acknowledging it and being like actually holding a sign at Pride that says pro-hypocrisy. Like there is a way in which now it's like come full circle. People are like, I'm unapologetically myself. And it's like, well, you're a CEO of a company that kills people.
Yeah, exactly.
But sure.
That's sure. But please, go, pop off, honey.
Pop off.
Yeah.
I hope you're having fun at Dua Lipa.
I mean, as we say into iHeartRadio,
oh, please. They've never done anything unethical.
What? I don't look at things.
Oh, I don't look at things. Actually, talk about like the tagline of gay men. Like, oh, I don't look at things. You have this line in, I'm going to really butcher it, but it's in Bright Colors and Bold Patterns where your character says something like, well, it's like, it's both bad and, or like, I both hate it and love it. It's called being gay. What is it? What's the line? Do you remember?
I'll try to remember it too. We celebrate things and make fun of them at the same time. That's called gay.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what when I try to explain camp to people who don't get it, it's like, no, we love showgirls.
Yeah.
We're laughing at it and we love it. You know, and I think it's that thing where with gay, like we celebrate, we love women and we also love to see, like, we identify with these women who have these like tragic stories. We laugh, but we also sympathize. And it's very hard, I think, for people to understand that thing of like, are you laughing at this or with it? And I'm like, there's an element of both that I think is very specifically queer.
I sort of think we, in a weird way, we do that with straight culture on this.
Sure.
Like, because we are not like, yes, we are making fun of it, but we are also, there's always this sort of like, we'll be like, well, they got a point. Like, you know,
of course, the show wouldn't work if it was just like, let's just bag on this thing. And like, it's not interesting to me to just sort of, again, to just say, well, the way I think and the way I am is the right way, and these other people are wrong. It's like way more interesting to look at the complexity and go, oh, wow, that actually is a thing that maybe we could learn from or understand. Yeah,
I know how to fix it. Ooh. The way to fix it is literally like still have that be like, okay, some people are going to stay and cook dinner and some people are going to go hunt. You just get to pick. Like, it's as long as you get to pick, that's completely ethical.
Well, and I think that's what it's also like what we're allowing kids to do now a little bit more. Like, what do you want to do? You know, I think my brother and sister-in-law are raising their kids in this really interesting way of basically being like, they're just listening to them and being like, what do you, and not like letting them take over and like running things, but just really sort of like that sort of thing about like, and maybe you want to hunt this year and cook food next year and then hunt again the next year. I mean, like, you know, like figure out who you are through the whole thing. You don't have to be one or the other. It's, you know, because I think that's a healthy way of going.
Yeah, hunting and gathering is actually not a binary.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I regret what I said earlier, and it was hateful.
Oh, it was really hateful. Really problematic. Is your email address? Because I'll be composing
the non-binary community.
A very non-binary email too.
Wow. Well,
yeah. This is
such a productive episode, intellectually and
love it.
Spiritually.
I love it in the morning and everything.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
you were talking about your mornings. I feel like sometimes in the mornings I'm the most. Sort of, I'm still dreaming a little bit, and I can have a lot of thoughts. Late afternoon for me is when I have literally no brain activity.
Because then at night you're like, well, time to go out on the town.
Exactly.
I am Mimi and Rent.
I'm lighting that Snicker bar on fire to be warm from my heroin shakes or whatever, and getting ready to go sing about Maya
night
Angelou
after a
cafe.
long day of podcasting. Yeah,
it's tough when we get into a theater riff because I'm like, I'll just wait it out.
Oh, no. All you have to know is that she says, I want to go out tonight.
Okay.
So she's going out.
So she's going out.
She works at the Cat Scratch Club. That's where I work. I dance.
Oh, my God.
Enough.
Like, I didn't even remember that part of,
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
Sam, how did you feel about all the theater references in Titanique last night?
It was one of those things, it kind of put me back into a childlike state because, you know, when you hear people reference stuff and everyone laughs and you go, and you don't really know, but you like understand that this is where I laugh now. Totally. And so I was like, I'm sure that makes sense, and I'm so beautiful. It's so beautiful that to some people that makes sense.
I love that. I'm sure that makes sense, and I'm so beautiful.
Oh my god. Oh.
And another gay guy like mantra. I'm sure that makes sense.
And I'm so beautiful.
I mean, that's merch. I'm sure that makes sense, and I'm so beautiful.
Fully.
Along with I don't see things.
I don't see things. Oh my god, I love it. So good.
Wow. Yeah. Damn.
Well, Drew, any final thoughts on hunting?
Hey, do it if it's birds. I mean, don't absolutely. We're not even getting into like game hunt, no. You know, lions, tigers, and bears.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Oh God, disgusting.
No, ever, disgusting, horrifying. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it's like, you know, follow your bliss. You know.
Yeah.
I have a hunting final thought, which is maybe a tangent that we don't even need, but this is what I'm thinking about. Hunting, the process of like shooting an animal feels very similar to me as like the process of like waxing your like ears and nose, where I'm sort of like, but how does it work? Like the bullet going through a body, I'm like...
This is an incredible comparison.
Hear me out.
I'm sure this makes sense, and I'm so beautiful.
No, this makes sense. I tapped the table. Did you hear that?
Wow.
But it I physically, I cannot imagine how
where the death happens. At what point does the death happen?
And like,
so this is a broader issue you have with.
Do you have that thing where not even death, but like physics, where it's like a bullet going through, like, but how does it? It can just push through.
Oh yeah,
in the
it's
same way
fast.
That, like when you pull a wax out, it's like so it doesn't get. You don't just get stuck there.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Okay, hear me out.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm like, so that's where like it's hard for me. I can't imagine it working.
Well, I sort of think what is maybe the issue is just the violence. Like it is because of you. There is violence happening. And actually, you're almost alienated from the violence because all you're doing is pulling a trigger.
Right.
It's like having the nuclear codes pressing a button and then people die. Like, all you're doing is pulling a trigger.
Right.
And then this animal is being tortured, but that's many feet away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it maybe... But then that doesn't...
No, that's not it.
That doesn't connect to the waxing
The thing is,
thing.
is the science.
The science.
Yeah, you're literally just like, how does it work?
I'm literally like, but how does it work? Like, I'm like... So enough speed happens that you can
should
move
watch
through
one of those
something.
slow motion videos where they shoot an apple and then it explodes.
Honey, I've seen it. I still don't get it.
You still don't get it?
My brain cannot make sense of it.
Totally.
But if it's like shot, like a buckshot, there's a lot of little BBs that go out at once in like a 12 gauge. Like it's a.
But how does one?
It's just fast.
It's fast and it rips apart their vascular system.
In the same way that like if there is some. I don't know, if you have like something soft and you put your finger through it, it goes through it.
Okay, everyone's screaming at me. It's not the same as that. Something soft is soft. That's why it goes through. The soft things are part liquid, so it goes through.
But are they?
I guess I'm glad I went on this tangent. Actually,
me too, to be clear.
You know, another one of these things,
please,
is that doesn't make sense to me. So someone like a skateboarder, like on a half pipe, let's say, dropping in. I've never I have done this, but I'm still like, but how does it work? I don't see how you don't
balancing?
No, like putting the board down and riding down. I'm like, how do you not fall forward?
I would fall forward. Like I think that is like.
But many people don't.
No, I know, but that's something I'll never understand.
You're like, I know.
I will be like, I have a hard enough time walking through this world. Like, I can't imagine how that sort of works.
I just mean, there's something about things.
I mean, don't get me started on surfing.
I would fall forward.
See, surfing actually makes complete sense to me.
You are insane.
You're just riding.
I cannot believe you. I'm trying to yes and you after your insane tangent, and you're like, no, that's wrong.
Well, no one's hearing me, actually.
Right.
I think that's the issue. I'm feeling very unheard.
Maybe I need to we decided there's a new type of yes anding called yes girling, where you just, when someone does something that you like, you're just like, good job.
You don't add anything else.
So maybe I just need to yes girl you rather than yes and you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll find a way to make sense of this. I'll write a big essay. You guys wait.
I sort of think people listening, there are people listening that are so on your wavelength.
Yeah.
And right now you can't see them because they haven't listened to it yet. And we're going to get comments that are like, I know exactly what Sam's talking about. Drew and George are so, why can't they get it through their thick
They're going to
skulls?
say it's not complicated, it's simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
should we do our final segment?
I think we should.
So Drew, our final segment is called Shoutouts. In this segment, we pay homage to the classic straight tradition of the radio shoutout. So think like TRL, think Z100, Morning Zoo. You are shouting out something that you like to your squad back home. And in the spirit of a shout out, we make them up on the spot, so we never prepare them at a time. I think I thought of one.
I have one too.
Okay, go.
What is up, freaks, losers, and most importantly, perverts around the globe? I want to give a huge shout out to Stop Making Sense. I watched this movie. Of course, everyone's like, it's the best. It's so good. And I was like, yeah, but it's still just a concert that was filmed. How can it be good? I watched this movie in a theater, and I was in heaven. I was sleepy on this day. I was sort of in a bad mood, which is not that rare, but this mood was there. And I was like, okay, whatever, let's go see it. And then afterwards, I was shaking. I was like, I have never felt so moved. I was like, this is my favorite movie. I could not believe it. It's one of those things, it reminded me of like kind of seeing like Madonna's Truth or Dare, where I was like, oh, the puzzle piece that was missing is now there. And now I understand like a huge swath of culture in a way that makes me feel free. David Byrne is a genius. The whole thing was so fun, so simple, so amazing. And the things, when it's described, you're like, yeah, I get it. And then you see it and you're like, I had no idea it could be this good. Stop Making Sense. Wow, you changed my life. XOXO Sam.
Wow. We had an aborted idea that we would watch Stop Making Sense and the Eras Tour and do a special episode about them.
Oh,
But then neither of us wanted to watch the Eras Tour. No
So
offense.
long. And
No,
we're not
I have
huge
zero
fans.
interest. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of a Swiftie?
We have decided
that's a
we're
great
pioneering
question.
a movement called being neutral about Taylor Swift. We're not.
Give it no energy.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Because we're not hater. I'm not a hater. I'm neutral.
I can't say, I don't know what allows me to be a hater. it's so
I know.
it's whiny and I
Yeah.
can't say it. Yeah.
Okay, what's up, everybody back home? I want to give a shout out to, this is sort of a complicated one. I want to give a shout out to listening to a song as if for the first time and making the conscious decision that you're going to listen to it as if for the first time. This is a song you have heard many times before, you know the lyrics, but you have stopped paying attention to them because they're so ingrained in you. I recently did this with Not About Love by Fiona Apple, and I Googled the lyrics and read them while I was listening to the song. This is a song I've listened to many times. The way I was moved as though I was 13 again, being introduced to music, the concept of music for the first time, is actually shocking, to the point where then I had dinner with a friend and made her do it with me and Googled the lyrics again and made her read them and be moved, and she was also moved. So maybe that's a good entry point for people if they want to Google Not About Love by Fiona Apple, but it can really work with any song, even Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift. So just go out there, make the conscious decision. Your brain is so powerful. You are in charge of your own destiny. Make the conscious decision that you're going to listen to a song as if for the first time. I repeat, as if for the first time. Okay, you guys, goodbye. Woo!
I mean, I'm ringing the Joan Jedian alarm on you. Talk about telling yourself a story in order to live.
Fully.
Have you ever done that?
No.
Yeah, it's a new thing I invented.
What? The Joan
Just,
Jedian?
no, just like listening to something as if for the first time.
I love that. I love that idea. I was thinking, like, what if I heard Groove is in the Heart
Yeah,
for the very first time?
Yeah.
Like, trying to really, like, scrub all memories.
exactly.
And
All
just, like, listen to
cultural.
it.
It's like, what if you literally did that? Here's what's harder. Doing that with literally like a song like Journey, a song that it is so cliche, so everywhere. And you're like, what if I heard this for the first time? I would actually probably love it.
Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing goal. I do feel Yeah, the closest I have to that is that when I listen to something that like came out the year before at the same time it came out, I can almost feel like I did in that moment it came out, and that's always an exciting feeling. Where I'm like, wow, I'm taken back exactly to that moment.
It's also such a classic like stoned thing. Like I feel like that is what it's like to be stoned, where you're like so.
Now I understand what this is, and I'm hearing every moment. I know what they meant by this, and I get this, and I'm.
So I guess my recommendation is like act like you're stoned even when you're not.
Yeah. Put that on a
Get
tee.
stoned.
Or get stoned, honestly. Yeah, maybe
that's
it'll
true.
be easier. Well, Drew.
Whenever you're ready.
What's up, all you fuckos and weirdos and sluts and assholes out there? I don't know if we can cuss on here. I'm not sure. I just want to give a shout out to all the kids being poly and pan and everything right now. I love it. I think it's awesome. I know I'd love to, I was trying to think of something. I'm like, oh, we're still striking. Hopefully by the time you hear this, we're not going to be, we can talk about movies and TV and what's happening in the world. But what I love what's happening is like going out and like talking to, I go to a local bar, a local watering hole, and a straight bartender is like telling me about having sex with a man that he kind of didn't really like. It wasn't really his thing. And I was like, in my 20s, that would never be a conversation I would ever have. And I love that you're exploring, you're figuring out who you are. We should all be so open and weird and messy and in the non-binary of it all. So hell yeah, keep exploring and keep loving and finding out what you like and kind of don't like. That's also cool.
Woo!
Wow.
Beautiful. I mean, what an incredible ep. Thanks so much for doing it.
Thank you so much for having me, y'all. This was so much fun.
And Drew, what are things you can promote that you're allowed to? Messy White Gaze, which
sure.
is...
That I hope will be a production.
Yes,
I'm like still working on that.
Still working on it.
So yes, I can talk about Titanique, which is anything that's like a theater we can talk about.
Yes.
That's at the Daryl Roth Theater that's running through the middle of June.
Perfect.
I'm not sure how long I'll be in it, but at least through the end of the year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks so
break
much.
into Celine Dion. Thank you, Drew. This has been a delight.
Oh my God, this was so much fun. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.